Hi, it's Donna. Welcome to this landscape watercolor painting with line and wash. And I am also going to give you tips on how to become a better artist using a line and wash in watercolors. So let's begin. I've started sketching my house, and this is the roof. And as you can see, I'm using ink pen, really recommended, waterproof, and I'm actually using dots to guide me on my drawings, on my sketches, and I'm not trying to make perfect lines. So sketches doesn't have to be perfect, especially with the line and wash technique, but at least you should have, the correct shapes and lines at the beginning of your painting is very important. So I'm using Arches 300 GSM watercolor paper in 100% cotton, and it's a small piece of paper. I actually started as an impressionist, and my sketches were definitely really quick before. But this year I've decided to try line and wash to get better with my drawings. So I'm adding more details onto the house, and I'm adding some fence in here. So the first tip that I would like to give you is to get better with line and wash. You have to start with simple subjects. So begin with easy subjects like a house, a flower, or simple landscape such as this, because this will help you focus on mastering the techniques without feeling overwhelmed. So when you are stress-free, when you are doing your sketches and you are doing your subjects, I think the result is definitely better. So start with something really simple. I know it's always exciting to sketch like hard subjects like buildings and cityscapes, but refrain from that and stay on easy subject at the beginning of your painting journey. So here I am adding some small roofs. I'm trying to balance the composition of this house, because as you can see, we are doing the focal point, the main subject in this painting. One of the things that I've noticed is that when I am doing the line art rather than the impressionist style, it's challenging to have that certain focus on a subject, because we are actually sketching almost all the lines because it's line and wash. But if you have the impressionist style, it's easier, to focus into something and make all the rest, the background and the foreground, blurred, and so it's easy to look at into your focal point. So line and wash is, although you draw almost everything that's necessary, the real challenge here for me with my experience is the main focal point on your subject. So we are going to do that by when we are going to add wash on our painting, and I will show you how not to paint on, not to sketch everything and focus on the real message of your painting, which is the focal point. So we still have to leave some imagination to our audience and not to paint and sketch everything. There is also some challenge on the tonals, different tonal values. So the distance of the subjects and everything on your painting is quite more challenging when you are doing line and wash than the normal impressionist style painting. And this is because I started as an impressionist, and then I tried the line and wash. So I'll try not to be too serious in this painting tutorial, and I just want you to enjoy this tutorial. And even if you make mistake, it doesn't matter. You can always do it again. It's just a piece of paper. So one of the other things that I'd like to add is that if you are a beginner, you are always conscious, like maybe I'm not using the best material, that's why my painting looks like this. So every time I would think something like that, I remember I would always remind myself how there are so many artists in the world who are painting on leaves, on the walls, or any available materials that they have. So although material for me is very important, especially the paper, on watercolor, I think it shouldn't be the thing that would hinder you to become a better artist. And for me, starting from practicing daily and getting better at your drawing is one of the best things that you can do if you are just starting up. So I'm adding some details on the roof. Also, I'm not going to draw everything on it. The next tip would be use fine light ink lines. So go for thin light ink lines that define your subject without overpowering it. This makes it easier to add washes and control the overall look of your painting. So when I was starting the line and wash, it was very important for me, the lines, because the lines sometimes could be very overpowering, as I've said. And by having those thin lines, it's gonna shift your focus onto the subject, and later on when you paint it, you will see the difference. Draw with the thick lines and fine line or thin lines, and you will discover it yourself that there is a big difference between the two. Although of course art is very subjective, so some people like it thick, some people like it thin, but experience it on your own and experiment. So here, as you can see, I've started painting it. I've added warm color of yellow ochre onto the foreground. I like adding the warm tones at the beginning of my painting, because just in case that I would forget some little parts of the paper without the paint, it will look odd. But at least if I have the under color, it will make everything looks more coherent. I'm adding blue, so the paper is still a little wet, so I'm adding blue for the sky. This is very thin, and I'm using Da Vinci brush number 2, so this is map brush. So I like using map brush even with this tiny painting, because it's easier for me to blend the colors, and it can hold more pigment onto the brush. I'm holding my paintbrush in the middle of it, so this will give me a slight control on my washes. The nearer you are to the brush, to the tip of the brush, the more control you have, as if you are writing and using a pen. I am mixing the watercolor paint, Born Sienna. I'm trying to make Van Dyke brown, a thick brown for the house. All the materials, they will be in your description, so feel free to check it. I also have classes in Skillshare that I'm inviting you to go and try if you want to learn more loose line and wash and impressionist style kind of painting. I've changed my watercolor brush, and this is black velvet. This is black velvet, and I've chosen this because of the tip. So I'm just varying the tip of my watercolor washes. I'm not painting everything. I'm leaving some whites because that would be for the leaves. So when you're doing your washes, this is the first wash, you have to plan ahead, because watercolor painting is a bit unforgiving. So you can't go back once it's done, although you can always do some changes a little bit, but when it's done, it's done. So here I'm working on it while the paper is still wet. I'm adding some contrast and darker tonal values onto the roof, not to make it look flat. So I'm varying the edges of the roof, cleaning up a little bit. And the third tip would be build washes gradually. So I'm just building the washes slowly and gradually. I started with a light wash of watercolor and layer darker tones as you go. It's easier to control the depth this way. So I'm just adding more and more tonal values as we go along while the paper is still wet. And I'm paying attention that the whites will be left onto the paper. Those are the sparkles. I've added some blue, and we are adding washes onto the fences as well. So I'm still leaving the whites. So leave those whites if you can, because they're gonna make the difference, at the end of your painting. I feel like I'm talking too much, but if you have questions, and just if you want to say something, if you have your own tips or whatever it is, I would be very happy to hear it. I know everybody is different and unique, and you have your own style, so feel free to write in the comments. Some likes would be very appreciated as well. And I'd like to know, where are you watching from? This world is big, and I would be very happy to hear from you. So now we're still working on the roof, and I'm adding some shadows on this side. I am going to add some warmer colors as well. So I'm adding details onto the house, and I'm trying to not to overdo this. One of the things that you can do if you are starting to learn watercolor is that to try plein air as well, because I think plein air is gonna give you, the first-hand experience where the light is coming from, where the shadow is, and it's just make a big difference on the final result. So I really hope that you're enjoying this painting with me, and please try it. You can go outside and choose the house that you like to paint. I like painting abandoned houses because of its location. It's more calm. And here in Spain, there are many abandoned houses, and it's really nice to paint them, as long as it's a sunny day and not too spooky. So I've changed my watercolor brush, and this is the smallest brush that I have. They are really inexpensive brushes. I am not really so strict with my materials, although I think I really like using Arches watercolor paper. So at least if you have 20% cotton on your paper, that would be really great if you are starting. Cleaning up a little bit. And so the next tip would be keep the ink dry. So let the ink fully dry before adding the wash. This prevents smudging and keeps the line crisp. I've waited for these lines to dry before adding washes. That's very important. Here I am still using the same brush. I'm adding some greens onto the leaves, and I'm doing it really quickly. So I'm still trying to leave the whites on our banana leaves. What is interesting is that living in Europe, and I would see bananas, it's just really makes me smile, because I am from Asia. I'm from the Philippines, and every time I would go home when I was still in France, I would get excited to land, because I know I would see lots of banana trees and palm trees and everything, and so I know I'm back to Asia. But now seeing those banana trees, banana leaves in Spain, makes me really laugh, because it's kind of strange to see bananas in Europe. So this landscape that I've chosen is actually in Spain, so it's not in Asia. We have bananas here, but I always joke, because bananas for me here is like a display. I haven't seen any banana fruit on that, or maybe yet I haven't seen yet. But usually in Philippines, in Asia, if you see banana tree, there's always banana fruit on it. Anyway, so I've painted the lanterns. So that's the lanterns. I like painting lanterns, so I've just added lanterns, as a decoration on this painting, make it more interesting. So if you feel like you want to add more details onto the painting, and just go ahead and experiment. So I'm adding darker tonal value. This is actually Van Dyke brown, but more on ivory black. So I'm doing the details really quickly to add more contrast onto the painting. Next is practice water control. Experiment with different water to paint ratios. More water creates softer, lighter washes, while less water creates you deeper and more intense color. So we are using intense color right now and deeper by adding darker tonal values, and this is actually adding the last details onto the painting. So this part, I am trying not to overdo this, because if I overdo this, it can destroy the overall message of the painting. So I'm trying not to overdo the dark washes. So as you've noticed, we've started from light to dark washes in watercolor. So there you go, almost finished, and I hope to see you in my other tutorials. I've got some quite videos on impressionist style painting and my latest with line and wash. So feel free to see them, and thank you if you're going to follow me, and if not, thank you for watching. And it really means a lot, you know, for me, the support as a new artist here on YouTube. I've started this channel like a year ago, but I kind of abandoned it because I was very busy with my shop. But now I'm trying, you know, to communicate with my audience more and do more videos in the future. So your your subscription is really important to me. I'm just taking picture of the results, and by this I would see if I want to add more changes and adding a little bit more or less details onto the painting. So thank you so much for watching, and please watch the next video on impressionist style like this. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next video. So I want to leave you with my favorite Bible verse. Love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always hopes, always perseveres.